17 Labour MPs just walked out of Parliament in the middle of Prime Minister's questions, and the footage spreading across the internet right now is unlike anything Westminster has witnessed in modern history. What Nigel Farage pulled out of his pocket at exactly 2047 this afternoon left Keir Starmer completely speechless at the dispatch box, with cameras capturing every second of his reaction. The document he held up triggered absolute pandemonium in the chamber, and within 3 hours this clip has exploded past 4.2 million views, with news outlets from Tokyo to New York calling this Britain's worst political crisis in decades. Buckingham Palace has already been briefed, and constitutional experts are using words that haven't been spoken about a sitting government in nearly 2 centuries. Stay with me, because what happens next could completely reshape who leads this country by the end of the week. The chaos started 3 hours ago when Nigel Farage rose for what everyone expected to be a standard parliamentary question about small boat crossings. His opening was measured and direct. Prime Minister, can you explain to the British people why illegal migrants receive hotel accommodation worth £150 per night while British veterans sleep rough on our streets? Starmer shifted in his seat, ready with prepared talking points about complex situations and interdepartmental coordination. But Farage didn't sit down. The Speaker looked confused. Conservative MPs leaned forward. Labour backbenchers exchanged nervous glances. Something about Farage's stance was different today. He wasn't playing to the gallery. He wasn't performing for clips. He was prosecuting a case. Then he reached inside his jacket and pulled out a folded document. He held it high enough for every camera in the chamber to capture. This internal memo, dated yesterday and signed by your Home Secretary, reference number HO25847, proved that your government knowingly removed British veterans from emergency housing lists to prioritise foreign nationals who entered this country illegally. The chamber went silent for exactly 2 seconds. Then absolute chaos erupted. Conservative MPs roared. SNP members sat frozen in disbelief. Labour backbenchers looked at each other in visible horror. Starmer's knuckles went white as he gripped the dispatch box. His communications director in the gallery was already typing frantically on her phone, while cabinet ministers stared straight ahead, refusing to look at their Prime Minister. Farage's voice cut through the noise with controlled precision. 3 veterans with documented post-traumatic stress disorder were removed from that waiting list. Their names are Michael Davidson, James Carroll, and Thomas Wright, men who served this country with honour, men who bled for the flag. They are now sleeping under bridges, while people who broke British law to enter this country sleep in warm beds funded by British taxpayers. Conservative MP Bob Seeley stood and shouted disgrace. The Deputy Speaker called repeatedly for order, but the chamber had descended into something that felt less like parliamentary debate and more like a public reckoning. Starmer attempted to respond. His voice wavered slightly. The honourable member is misrepresenting a complex situation involving multiple agencies and departments requiring careful coordination. The words landed flat. Hollow. Bureaucratic. Every syllable made it worse. Farage interrupted, a rare breach of Commons protocol. Misrepresenting? I have the document right here. Your Home Secretary signed it yesterday. The reference number is printed clearly. Would you like me to read the entire thing into the parliamentary record? He held the paper higher. Camera flashes erupted. The BBC Parliament feed captured Starmer's mouth opening, but no words coming out. Within 90 seconds, the hashtag #DefendOurVeterans was trending #1 across the United Kingdom. Then Transport Secretary Louise Hayes stood up from the front bench, gathered her papers with deliberate movements, and walked out of the chamber. She didn't look back. She didn't offer explanation. She simply left during Prime Minister's questions while cameras broadcast every step to millions of viewers. The symbolism detonated across Westminster. Stephen Kinnock rose and followed her, then 2 junior ministers, then backbenchers from Northern England constituencies, 1, then 3, then 7. Labour MPs from heartland seats their party had held for generations were abandoning their Prime Minister on live television. Within 90 seconds, 17 Labour MPs had walked out of the chamber in broad daylight during the most watched parliamentary session of the year. Professor Vernon Bodnor of King's College London told Sky News shortly after that he has studied British politics for 50 years and never witnessed anything comparable. This was a vote of no confidence without the formal vote. Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle suspended proceedings at 3:12 in the afternoon, exactly 25 minutes into the session. His statement was terse. This House is not functioning as it should. The walkout by members undermines parliamentary democracy. I am suspending proceedings until tomorrow, when I expect all members to attend and conduct themselves appropriately. He looked directly at the Labour front bench as he spoke. Palace sources confirmed within minutes that King Charles had been briefed. Senior royal insiders speaking anonymously revealed that His Majesty expressed deep concern about parliamentary stability. The phrase used in the internal briefing document sent chills through constitutional circles. Constitutional crisis brewing. The King reportedly asked 3 questions. Is the government stable? Can they govern effectively? Should preparations be made for potential intervention? At Buckingham Palace, an emergency meeting convened with the King's private secretary, the Privy Council, and senior constitutional advisers. 2 separate sources inside the palace confirmed the topic under discussion was whether royal intervention might become necessary. That mechanism hasn't been invoked since 1834, when King William IV dismissed Lord Melbourne's government. Inside number 10 Downing Street, witnesses described complete meltdown. Ministers shouting, aides in tears. Phones ringing continuously with furious constituents, panicked donors, and MPs demanding answers. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner allegedly stormed into Starmer's office at 3:47 in the afternoon, demanding to know why she wasn't informed about the Home Office memo before Farage revealed it publicly. The shouting was audible through closed doors. One staffer present reported Rayner's words as blunt. "You've made us all look like absolute fools. Every single one of us." Starmer reportedly slammed his hand on his desk and insisted the leak was a Conservative plot. Rayner allegedly laughed in his face and walked out. A junior staffer speaking anonymously described the atmosphere as the most toxic they had ever witnessed in government. People crying openly at their desks, nobody knowing what to do, the Prime Minister locked in his office refusing to take calls. Chancellor Rachel Reeves convened an emergency meeting with Treasury officials to assess potential market fallout. Sterling dropped 0.8% against the dollar within 2 hours of the walkout. UK gilt yields spiked 12 basis points. The FTSE 100 closed down 87 points. Billions in market value erased because of parliamentary chaos. Reeves called Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey at 4:15 to discuss contingency measures. Sources report Bailey urged political leaders to restore calm immediately or risk serious market disruption. Cabinet Secretary Simon Case was overheard telling a senior civil servant that in 30 years of government service he had never seen anything like this. The government isn't functioning. Meanwhile, the veterans at the centre of this scandal represent something far more damning than political embarrassment. Michael Davidson is a 52-year-old former Royal Marine who completed 2 tours in Afghanistan. He was removed from the emergency housing waiting list 48 hours ago after waiting 7 months. 7 months of sleeping in shop doorways. His commanding officer personally wrote to the council, describing how Michael saved 3 soldiers during a Taliban ambush in Helmand province in 2012. His actions earned a commendation for gallantry. One of the men he rescued, Corporal James Mitchell, now teaches in Manchester. His video message recorded tonight has already gone viral. "Michael dragged me through enemy fire with a broken arm. He's saved my life, and now our government treats him like garbage." Michael now sleeps in a doorway on Tottenham Court Road because the government decided foreign nationals who entered Britain illegally deserved his place in emergency housing. James Carroll is 58 years old. He served in Northern Ireland during the Troubles as part of bomb disposal units that defused over 40 improvised explosive devices. One explosion left him with permanent hearing loss and psychological trauma that still haunts him decades later. He applied for emergency housing in April. By June, he had moved to number 3 on the waiting list. Last week, he received a letter stating his application was being reassessed due to changing priorities. The letter never explained what those priorities were. James now sleeps in a Birmingham homeless shelter so overcrowded, he often spends nights on a plastic chair in the common area. 22 years of service to this country, and this is how the system treats him. Thomas Wright is 47, the youngest of the 3 veterans named by Farage. He served in Iraq and witnessed combat so brutal, he still cannot discuss it without breaking down. His PTSD destroyed his marriage. His nightmares made it impossible to hold employment. He applied for emergency housing and was told he qualified. Then silence. Weeks became months. He called 14 times. Each time they promised to return his call, they never did. Thomas attempted suicide on November 3rd. A passerby called an ambulance and saved his life. When he left hospital, he returned to sleeping rough under Waterloo Bridge. While these men suffer, illegal migrants who entered Britain by breaking the law receive 3 meals daily in heated hotels with television and Wi-Fi, full housekeeping, laundry services, and security. Some accommodation is in 4-star establishments in central London. The Home Office confirmed through Freedom of Information requests that the average cost per migrant per day is £164, more than most British pensioners receive in a week. One Westminster hotel, the Park Plaza, houses 87 migrants. Commercial guests pay £189 per night. The mathematics work out to over £16,000 nightly for people who entered Britain illegally. Margaret Chen is a 64-year-old retired NHS nurse from Bradford who voted Labour for 43 consecutive years. Her video posted tonight has already exceeded 1.8 million views. I nursed wounded soldiers. I held their hands through amputations and nightmares. I voted Labour since I was 21 years old, and now my party spits on them. I am done. Reform UK has my vote. That single video represents the collapse of Labour's moral authority. The working-class nurses and teachers and factory workers who built this party are walking away in disgust. WhatsApp groups among Labour MPs with names like Save the Party and Post-Starmer Planning exploded with over 200 messages in the first hour. By evening, that number exceeded 800. The MPs who walked out aren't apologising. They're organising. Veteran Labour MP Barry Gardner told Sky News without hesitation that the Prime Minister has lost moral authority. How can he ask us to defend policies he cannot defend himself? We cannot defend the indefensible any longer. 3 junior ministers have privately informed allies they will resign by Friday morning unless Starmer addresses the veterans' crisis with concrete action, not promises, housing, funding, and accountability. But the situation becomes far more dangerous when you understand what sources inside Whitehall are now revealing. The Home Office memo Farage produced is not the only one. Multiple sources confirm at least 4 additional memos exist, each more damaging than the last. One allegedly shows senior civil servants warned ministers 3 months ago that prioritising migrants over veterans would create exactly this political catastrophe. The memo, dated September 14th, reportedly states that political fallout from this policy could be severe if exposed. Another purportedly contains instructions from ministerial advisers to suppress media coverage of veteran homelessness during major political events, including the Labour Party conference. If these documents exist and contain what sources claim, Starmer didn't simply make a policy error, he engineered a cover-up. He knew veterans were suffering. He received warnings about consequences. He proceeded anyway to protect his immigration agenda from criticism. A British Prime Minister knowingly allowing veterans to suffer while shielding immigration policy from scrutiny would have no path to political survival. According to 2 senior Labour MPs who spoke with The Times tonight, discussions about triggering a leadership challenge have already commenced. The threshold is 46 MPs submitting letters. 17 walked out publicly today. Sources say at least 20 more are considering joining them. Another dozen remain on the fence but lean toward rebellion. The mathematics point to one conclusion. Starmer could face a confidence vote by Monday. Unlike Boris Johnson, who survived his initial confidence vote through built loyalty over years, Starmer lacks those reserves. He governed like a technocrat rather than building relationships and earning trust. Now the bill comes due. Nigel Farage is capitalising on this chaos with surgical precision. Within 1 hour of the walkout, Reform UK released a comprehensive veterans support plan developed secretly over months. Immediate emergency housing for all homeless veterans within 14 days. Fast-tracked mental health services with dedicated trauma counsellors. A £500 million veterans fund financed through cuts to foreign aid and migrant hotel budgets. Priority social housing access for any veteran with service-related health conditions. The timing devastated Labour. While Starmer's government offered excuses and bureaucratic deflection, Reform appeared prepared, compassionate, and ready to govern. Farage appeared on GB News at 6:30, looking calm and measured, nothing resembling the firebrand populist his critics describe. We are not here to play political games. We are here to fix what is broken. Veterans first. British citizens first. Common sense first. That is not radical. That is basic decency. No mockery of Starmer. No gloating about the walkout. No inflammatory language. Steady leadership with clear priorities. Social media response was overwhelming. The hashtag Veterans First trended globally for 7 consecutive hours with over 2.8 million posts. Reform UK's membership website crashed from traffic volume. Over 14,000 new registrations processed in 3 hours. Donations arrived so rapidly the party's finance team brought in additional staff, small donors giving £20 and £50, working people who had never contributed to political campaigns sending money because they were disgusted by what they witnessed. A Sabanta Snap poll conducted between 4:00 and 8,000 this evening shows Labour collapsing to 24%, down 8 points from last week. Reform UK surged to 29%, overtaking Labour for the first time in modern British polling history. Conservatives held at 28%, benefiting from Labour's implosion without gaining ground themselves. For the first time, Nigel Farage isn't a protest figure or establishment irritant. He leads the race to become Britain's next Prime Minister, the man dismissed for decades, mocked by mainstream media, ignored by pollsters, now sits atop British politics. Entirely because Starmer destroyed his own credibility and handed Farage the greatest political gift imaginable. The next 72 hours will determine Britain's political trajectory. Tomorrow, Starmer must answer questions about those leaked memos in Parliament, but 17 of his own MPs have already declared they won't return to the chamber while he leads the party. If additional memos surface, if more MPs defect, if the markets continue their slide, this government could fall before the weekend. Subscribe now because what happens next will reshape British democracy, and you won't want to miss a single moment of how this unfolds.